Tonight we are going in depth on one of new 300 laws on the books as of last Saturday. The state is cracking down on drunk driving and even high driving like never before, and you could, in a first time, could actually be a felony now. Joining me on the program to speak unedited about it is Tulsa County District Attorney Steve Kunzweiler, and while he was here we also spoke about a couple of other things, including my special report airing tomorrow night on the release of Robert Bever's confession to killing his family 10 years ago. Back on the program with me today is Tulsa County District Attorney Steve Kunzweiler. A lot of laws changed. New laws came into effect on Saturday, November 1st. Let's start talking about them. One of them is DUI, and you've done a lot of stuff with DUI. What has changed when it comes to DUIs?
Yeah, November 1st is always just the glut of new laws being passed, but the one that's going to probably affect most people who can't seem to control their behaviors with operating heavy equipment or cars under the influence of drugs or alcohol is aggravated DUI. Has now been modified by Senator Weaver, Darrell Weaver. It's a good law. I like it. In essence, aggravated DUI used to be a .15. If you drew that, you were going to be charged with that. Now, aggravated DUIs can include a lower blood alcohol if your driving behavior is impacting your ability to operate that motor vehicle. So if you're left of center, or you're going off the side of the road, or you're impacting somebody or some person or their property, their mailbox, that's an automatic trip to aggravated DUI, which is a felony. And then the law also mandates you have to serve a mandatory minimum amount of time, I think like 10 days in the county jail. So this law is designed to get people to try and conform their behaviors. We have way too many options out there, like Uber and Lyft and taxi cabs, and you can certainly probably even call the police department and say, I need to find a way to get home. I just don't want to get into a car or my car. And I'm sure law enforcement would rejoice and say, all right, let me figure out how to help you out. We're trying to change behaviors, but I see way too much carnage going on, and we need to figure out how to stop this. The impact of marijuana is impacting a lot of DUIs. It's just about every single DUI case where somebody's injured now. I'm seeing not only alcohol, but a lot of marijuana in there too. So that you could very well be looking at being charged with a felony, serving mandatory time in jail, and spending an awful lot more money on a lawyer as opposed to what you'd rather spend it on, maybe something for your home or your house.
These were misdemeanors before, is that right?
Well, the .15 always was a felony, but if you're now driving drunk and you're crossing center lines and you're doing damage to property or people, it's an automatic felony charge. So your first time DUI might actually be a felony in Oklahoma.
Is that hard to prosecute, because everybody's bodies are so different? We take alcohol so differently. That .15 is like, well, maybe that's nothing for one guy, but that's total intoxication.
Well, but see, that's the mistake that a lot of folks make, is that's a very arbitrary number. It's a number that the legislature says that's a threshold we're not going to follow. So I often tell people, hey, if you've been to college, have you ever seen somebody who's drunk? Yes, tell me how they behaved. Most people already know what drunk looks like, right? And so it's the behaviors are fairly pronounced. But if you are driving with a statutory level that is above .08 or above .15, depending on the circumstances, you're by definition driving under the influence. So you might think you're fine, but by the Oklahoma standards, it's not your opinion that counts, it's what the legal standard is, and that's what's going to ultimately carry the day.
How do y'all handle this time of year, 300 new laws? Is it print it off and study this? Or
well, I mean, it's funny you'd ask that, but you know, that requires us to do a lot of stuff centrally with updating criminal charging forms and making sure our prosecutors are educated. We've got a new criminal justice reclassification system now, and we're having lots of training on that. So it's a heavy move when you get a lot of changes in certain procedural matters. I mean, there's a lot of great laws that got passed. Some of them are a little more difficult to deal with, but that's the job that we get paid to do.
Do you have to change, like let's say somebody's charges are in progress and they've changed because of a law, do you have to update a charge at all? Or
No. So if on November the 1st somebody got caught with DUI, we'd be looking at the new law. If they were not convicted but committed on October the 31st, it's the old law,
Okay.
all the way through. So November the 1st, anybody after that date is going to be the new DUI law.
You all started a preliminary hearing for a man who shot a cop last week. Is that right?
Armand Williams.
Yes. What is that like? As far as I imagine, there's zero tolerance for shooting the cops. Do you go a little harder on those cases?
Well, I mean, just have to look at kind of what we look at. I mean, our law enforcement exists for the protection of our communities. And while many people might have disagreements with what maybe a police officer's pulling them over for or whatever that is, you still have to be able to respect the authority and let the process work out the way it is. I've been doing this for 35 plus years, and what I've seen obviously is this advent of video technology. And so when you get to see a body-worn camera or dash cam camera or video surveillance from, say, a Quick Trip that's capturing the heroism of these officers, and in this particular case, Officer Shane Statham, I don't know that I've seen anything more heroic on film than to see this guy actively just getting out of his car in the midst of a fusillade of bullets coming his way, because he knows he's in a Quick Trip parking lot and he's got to do something to protect the community from this offender. And so it was in that interaction that he ultimately got shot in the foot, and thank God it wasn't any worse injury. But the bravery and the heroism that our police officers are demonstrating throughout Tulsa County and in the state, we all need to kind of take a step back and thank them. I think that's the best thing you can do for a cop, is even if you're just passing them, is just thank them for their duty, because on any given day they're having to strap on that belt and that uniform and walk away from their wife, their kids, their family, and they may not come home. And so it's officers like Officer Statham and Officer Mercer who are engaged in this gunfight that I'm very proud of for their ability to protect our community.
Real quick, before you go, we've been running the promotions during the World Series about the Robert Bever release. Michael's confession has always been out there. What was it about Robert's confession that made it have to be tucked away for a little bit longer than the other?
Well, in Robert's case, obviously he pled guilty before going to trial and got his the multiple consecutive life without parole sentences. So that really wasn't a matter that had to get publicized or was publicized. Michael's case was litigated, and so at some point that obviously percolated up. We had to have a jury trial and find him guilty. So I mean, I'm glad that this story is able to be told in completeness now. It is pretty scary to think that kind of environment could exist in a small little neighborhood, and that these two young men, while I think mental health played a role in that, it wasn't anything that they didn't have the ability to step back from it, and of course their decision was to move forward. Their goal ultimately, as I've told you, their goal was to be known as mass murderers. They wanted to go on the road and randomly kill people across the United States, and the fact that they took their family out, just a huge tragedy. The positive side obviously is the surviving 13-year-old and the younger baby are doing fabulously well now, and I'm grateful for that.
Steve, thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.